The problem with most digitizing software is that it makes creating designs way too overwhelming. It feels like you're working with something stuck in the 90s, cluttered screens, endless buttons, and way too many steps to do something simple. We were tired of that. So we built our own software that shows you the 10% of the tools you actually use 90% of the time. Today I'm going to show you how it works and what makes it faster, so let's get started. Now the first thing we wanted to do was create an uncluttered interface. So when you load your design, all you see on screen is lots of real estate. There's nothing there that you really need other than your properties and your sequence, and those can be open and closed at your convenience. We also have our convenient widget that has all of your tools from artwork to all of the stitch brushes all in one place, ready to use. Now that my artwork is loaded, all I have to do is select the backdrop. I can see a wireframe will go around the artwork, and then I just open my properties and I can see the height and width. And it's really easy to toggle between metric and imperial just by clicking the button. If I want to make this 4.5 inches, I just type in 4.5, hit enter, and the artwork will resize. Now, depending on your artwork, you might want to control the opacity, how much you want to dim the artwork. And with our software, you can actually dim it in stages. And this is really handy depending on the design and how much opacity you want during the digitizing process. Now, one thing I do love about our software is besides your stitch brushes, I also have an artwork tool. And the artwork tool, I can choose any color of thread that I want, and it's really not thread, it's just a color at this point. I can choose from any of my drawing inputs, and I'm going to choose fast draw, and I'm just going to draw a line from here, and I'm going to hit the shift, and this is going to give me a set angle in 15-degree increments. Now you might be asking why I did that. It's because I want this angle to be this way, and when I do the black in this angle, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I just click the center of my widget, I'm going to put a point here, and I'm going to hit the shift, and I'm going to hold the shift down so that I have two opposite, a 135 and a 45-degree angle. I love this because I can draw anything within my artwork and start to get it prepped, where with my other software I didn't have that ability. I just had to kind of fly by the seat of my pants. So now that I've drawn my actual artwork as a reference, I'm just going to change the color. I'm going to choose a fill stitch. I'm going to change this to a yellow color, and I'm going to zoom into a 6:1 scale. Just pan over so I can see the entire area. And because I have to adjust for my push and pull compensation, I'm going to put my first point right here, and then I'm going to go around the outside, and I'm trying to keep everything consistent. And this is why I drew that line, because now it becomes a reference for my push and pull compensation, and I know I need to cut short around here. When I hit enter, I just draw my inclination, hold shift, and I can see that that lines up perfectly, start and stop, and I'm done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change to a different brush, and I'm going to use a classic satin, which is a point counterpoint. I'm going to change it to a light green color just so that I can see it on screen as I'm creating it. And I'm going to start with doing these little pieces here. So I'm going to do a point here, 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 and here. And then I can continue to go point counterpoint to create my satin. And if you notice, it is opposing the stitch direction of the stitching underneath. And when I hit the enter, it's going to create those stitches, so I can see that I have a nice clean line across there. Now what I want to do is I'm going to turn off my 3D, and I'm going to make sure that I travel from this point here up to here, but I'm going to travel using a run stitch. So I could use my brush, or I could use my hotkeys and just travel to the next object, which would be right there. And now I have absolutely no trims in the design. So because we changed the stitch type, now we have a traveling stitch that goes to this point so that I can come in here. If I didn't travel between these objects, then I would have an unnecessary jump or trim within the design. So I can see my artwork. I'll just go off of 3D. I'll go back to a classic satin, and now I'll come in and I'll just do this point right here, point counterpoint, and we'll create this object and go all the way over to here, and then I'll just hit the enter, and that will create that object. And again, the smart join, which is within our software, is automatically going to look at all the points between these objects and make sure that they automatically connect. This is something that wasn't a standard in other software programs, and it makes creating designs so much easier. As long as I know that I'm going to have objects that actually touch or connect, I know that the smart join will be active. Now with this object, because it actually is kind of a strange shape, instead of using my point counterpoint, I'm going to use a regular satin, and this tool allows me to just very quickly, using my fast draw, go up one side, and then I want to make sure I touch that object, and then I can go to the other side and just follow my way back so that I'm really kind of creating two open ends. So I'm going to have a point here. When I hit enter, the object is created, and all I have to do is put in my stitch directions or my inclination points, and when I hit enter again, it's going to start and stop automatically closest point. To get from here to here, even though it's a small space, I will hit my 1, which is going to be the hotkey for a run, so that I can go just from this point right to this point, hit enter, and that way I know that I won't have an unnecessary jump, and then I can just go right back to my satin stitch, and then I can do this object exactly the same way to create the next little leg. So I'm just making sure that every single object that I create, I am just following the artwork, hitting enter, putting in inclination points, and making sure that I hit enter, and I'll continue to run throughout the design without having any unnecessary jumps or trims. So now you can see why this is so fast, and I'm going to continue to generate the rest of the bee. Now our software does have an auto pan feature, so when I do select, let's say, a run stitch, and I'm just going to hit the 1 for a run, when I start putting my first input, I can easily go around my design and I can move around, or I can hit the space bar and just very quickly pan anywhere on the design that I want. This is a very quick and efficient way to move around the design and get to any point in the design much quicker than traditional software. Let's take care of this side, and then I'm going to show you a trick to actually complete the outline. Now if you have a stitch like this, which is a fixed width, we're going to show you a huge time-saving tool which is called a steal. And the steal, you can choose the width, which I'm going to choose 1.5 millimeters, and I know these are going to touch, so I'm just going to start right here, and I'm going to come right around the center of this object. And when I come around the center, I'm just going to follow all the way around. This saves a lot of time because I don't have to draw either side or go point counterpoint. I'll just end up right here, hit the enter, and it's all done very quickly. Now let's finish the left side of the butterfly, and I'll show you how to do the right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the run, and I'm just going to travel all the way down to the other side here. So let's just bring this over, and I'm going to end up making sure that I come right to this point, right to here, where I know I started my last objects. Because what I want to do is I want to save some time, and I'm going to go into my sequence view, and I'm just going to drop it down, and I'm going to grab the object right here. This is the object that I want to duplicate. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to hold the shift key and grab all of those objects, and then I'm just going to right click, and I am going to duplicate them. So once I hit duplicate, I'm going to then come up and I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to flip it horizontally, and then all I have to do is hold this and move it over so I line it up exactly where I want it, and I just have to get it fairly close, and that way when I do end up letting go, it's going to put it into place. Now all I have to make sure that I do is I'm just going to click off the screen, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to grab that last object that I created, and I'm going to get rid of it because I don't need that one duplicated twice. So I'll just hit the delete button and it's gone. And you can see that I've ended up right here, right where I want to start my fill. Now you can see why the widget tool is so handy. Instead of having boxes and drop downs all over the place, everything is located in one convenient area. So now all I have to do is the fill stitch in here, and I'm just going to choose a fill. And then I'm going to come and, based on the line that I drew, knowing that I am going to touch right here, I'm just going to come in and digitize my fill stitch, allowing for my push and pull. So I'm coming, a little closer on one side, a little further on the other, and then I'm just going to come right down to this point right here, and I'm going to follow right on that line. So I'm going to go right over here, and I'm curving, coming right to this point here, coming up a little bit, and then again going around the outside and following around the outside of this, so that when it actually is done generating, I will have a nice clean fill stitch. Hit enter. I'm just going to follow my stitch direction. Again, hold the shift key, making sure it's exact angle. Enter, enter, and that is done. So now I'm ready to outline this design, but if I look here, I forgot to do a piece that should have been done first. One thing I love about our program is we actually have the ability to digitize before and after objects. So if I do see that I made a mistake, I can just click on that object and I can say digitize after or digitize before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say digitize before, and I'm going to then go to, let's say, my satin tool, and I'm going to put a satin stitch right here, go right to this point here, come down like this, and come up the other side, do this point, put inclinations in, and then come here, hit enter, enter. That piece is done. I'm still in digitize before mode, so I can go to a run, and I can just bring this run over here so that it touches that object, and now I have fixed all of those areas. So now all I have to do is go to this last object, and because it is the last object, I'm going to say digitize after, and now I can continue on with the digitizing process. Now again, a really quick, easy way to outline this would be to just come in here, choose my steel. I'm going to choose a, let's say I could probably do 1.5 millimeters, just like I did before, so it's already set up. The software automatically remembers the last property that you chose, and you can choose custom properties that aren't within the widget, and it'll remember those as well. And now all I have to do is come here, and I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to go right around the outside of the design. I'm just going to come right to this point here, and I'm going to press enter. Now you'll notice there's a little gap there, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that last object, and we have a feature which allows you to close your shape, and it will automatically close the shape. So if I look at this now, I can see that I have a nice, perfect outline around there, but I can also see that it's no longer directly on the artwork. But we have that problem solved as well. Because it's highlighted, I can now go to my inset, and I can actually bring my inset in so that it's going to be closer to the outline, and it automatically adjusts the underlay. So now I have a design that is perfect all the way around, and it's adjusted exactly to where I wanted the artwork to be. So now we can grab the colors. So let's just go to the sequence, and I'm just going to look at this. I'm going to make this all one object so that I can grab that color, and we'll make this black so it's true to the artwork. That's pretty much done. It moved a little bit. You can always lock your artwork into place if you don't want it to move, but there's one more thing I think I'd like to do. I'm going to just actually go to this one wing right here, and I'm just going to take a light blue color, and I'm just going to go to my running stitch, and I have my stitch length set at, let's say, 2.5 millimeters. I'm going to use a different tool, which is a free draw tool, and I'm going to actually grab a little bit of a manual effect in here so that I create something that looks kind of translucent. So I'm just going to come in here and draw back and forth. This is just manually being done. I'm really not worried about how perfect it is. I actually want it to look a little bit random as it's going through. I can go up one side, and this is where my snap to anchor, I have a little dot right there. I can go back down the other side, and I can just create this so that it is going to give me a really kind of hand look that's going to look a little bit translucent when it's done. Now all I have to do is grab that object, and I'm going to copy it, and when I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip this horizontally, and then I'm going to move it over to the other side, and I'm going to put it right in place on the other side of the wing so that I know that it's going to be right about there. This time I don't have to use Digitize after, because we have the automatic snap to anchor and I can see that it's highlighted. All I have to do is change from my freehand to my fast draw, and I can see that the little dot appears. I'm just going to go right on this dot, travel right underneath of this object, and then come right back to this point right over here where I started my last design, hit enter, and I can see that it's automatically connected those. Then all I'm going to do is grab this, and let's move this right up to the beginning of the design, and now I have the bee done, and I have that kind of translucent look behind the wings. Now that we've done the bee, we're just going to grab all of these objects and we're just going to lock them into place so we don't have to worry about anything moving. But one thing I do want to do actually is I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to delete that piece of artwork because it served its purpose and I really don't need it anymore. Now we're going to start digitizing the flowers. I'm going to actually go off of the artwork a little bit. I'm going to do green, and we're just going to do all of those pieces. With this one, I'm just going to use the classic satin, and it's so easy just to come in here and do one little piece like this, and then I'm just going to hit enter. I know that these are going to touch, so I'm just going to have to do one little piece like this. It really takes a lot of the thought process out of it because I know it's automatically going to connect. And then this one, I'm just going to go a little bit off of the artwork, and I'm just going to do this one all the way down. Again, we are at a 600% scale, so as far as I'm concerned, that piece is done. Then I can just pan over and do this little piece as well, doing the exact same thing. Just make sure that I come over here, do this one, and have it overlap. I know that this is going to touch, so I'm just going to do this piece, and then I know that the next object's going to touch as well, so I don't have to worry about any underlay or mapping. I know the software is automatically going to do its job, and everything is just going to be perfect. Now let's take care of the flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose pink because I want pink flowers. You can change any color you want. And with this one here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my regular satin, and I'm just going to go on one side here like this, and then I'm just going to go around using my fast draw tool. The fast draw tool is our fastest means of creating objects or artwork. And this one, I can kind of add a little bit of stitch direction. So instead of just a fill that goes straight across, this is going to create a little bit of variance. And because that one's done and it's so close to the other one, we're just going to duplicate this, and then I can move it over here, and I can flip it around and put it right in the area that I want and just line it up. And as far as I'm concerned, that looks great. This is my favorite part. I'm going to do this flower here, and I must be totally transparent. Doing something like this with most digitizing software was always really burdensome because we have two different objects. So I'm not going to use any of my stitch brushes. I'm going to use my artwork mode. And because I'm in artwork mode, I have shapes. So let's just create this shape first. There's my shape right there. And then let's use our fast draw tool to create the next shape, which is just going to be right here. And I'm just going to go very quickly all the way around this, do a straight and curve, and just outline this shape right here. And when I'm done this shape, I'm just going to not join it because I'm going to use the close shape when I'm done, so it sees a perfect shape that is completely closed. So I'll just get right about here, and then I'll hit enter. Now that that is still selected, we set it up so in artwork mode it automatically stays selected because we know you might want to close the shape. Now I have two shapes that are together, and I can just grab those two shapes, right click on them, and tell them to actually combine. So I go to edit artwork, combine those two shapes, and you see this flower's turned into one, and that's where our artwork also has the ability to be converted into any stitch types. And this is so easy because I just tell it to convert to satin. I just draw in a few inclination points, which I will use from the center of this flower, hit enter, enter again, and it is done. So long gone are the days of having to create complex shapes and try to do it in very unfriendly ways. We've taken care of any type of artwork and anything that you want to convert to any stitch type. So now what we'll do is we'll just zoom out really quickly so we can see all those beautiful flowers, and I'm just going to grab the green and the pink, and I'm going to take those and I'm going to duplicate those, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll just flip them, and then I can just grab that and place them exactly where I want on the other side, and that is done. Now you might have noticed that on the sequence view I have these colors repeating themselves because I duplicated them. And this is something where we did put in a color sort so you can automatically bring them into 2 colors instead of 4, which is very convenient if you're running a single needle machine. So now we're just going to take care of the text right up here, and I'm going to choose a yellow color. I'm going to choose my actual brush, which I'm going to use a classic satin, and all I have to do is point counterpoint and go back and forth. And I am going to rely on the smart joins, so I don't really have to worry about things joining up. Long gone are the days where you really have to plan out your designs 100%. So I'm just going to come here and do this piece and have it line up to the artwork as close as I can. Put a straight point there, go to curve, and then curve around this side. I'm going to go right over to here, and I'm probably just going to curve around this area here as well, because I won't really notice that tiny little bit of a bump there otherwise. And I'm just going to come right over to here, and I'll just bring this one all the way to there and hit enter, and that is going to be done. So you can see how nice and clean it looks. Then all I'm going to do is go to a run stitch. I could even drop a stitch in between there if I wanted to. Then I can go to the E, and I'll just continue on with my classic satin, and I'm just going to go here, and let's just pan over a little bit so I can see all of my artwork, and go all the way around like this. Now this object is going to be done. Now you can see how easy it is to digitize with a clean interface, where you're not having to just go all around the screen grabbing different tabs and getting confused along the way. Everything is where you need it, when you need it, but I still have one more thing to show you. Now we just have the bottom text to do, and I could manually digitize this, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one of the built-in fonts. And you will notice that we have the fonts, it just shows up as text, and then when I go and I click on the properties, I can actually see all of the different fonts that we have available. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here, I make sure that I have the caps on, and I'm just going to type in wild and free, and once I have my name in there and I hit the generate, then what I can do is I can start browsing through all of the fonts that are available, and we do have 200 fonts that are built into the software. Those are the ones that are identified by the light pink color, and you can see the purple ones that show up are the fonts that we are continually adding in. We add in 10 different fonts every single month that you can choose as an option to bring into the software. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to go through until I see something that kind of jumps out at me, and actually I think I like this one. We'll try that one right there. I'm going to make this about 20 millimeters instead of 25, and then I'm going to just pop it right down here, see if it's around the right size, and that looks pretty good. But I do see that it's way too wide, so if I just want to adjust this a little bit, I can just drag that over, change the color, and now I have wild and free, and I can just get rid of the backdrop, and I can see that that actually looks nice and clean, and it actually suits the design. One thing I do love about all the built-in fonts is they are professionally digitized, and if you select the font, you can go in and you can edit the fonts individually and take them, make them a little bit larger like we saw in the original artwork. You can also come in and select the font, and when you select a font, what happens is you can actually tell it to break up the text. And when you break up the text, then it actually turns into objects that become editable. So you can actually take this, and if I want to move this and change how this font actually looks, I can come in and I can change how the font looks, and I can modify it to exactly what I want. So anything can be changed because these are object-based. They're not just built-in fonts that are, assigned as stitches, but you can change inclination points, nodes, and anything that you can dream. So now we're all done, so we're going to stitch this out and we're going to show you the results. Thank you for watching this demo. I think you can now see why we were inspired to create a new and innovative way to create machine-friendly designs faster and easier than ever before. If you're ready to take your embroidery to the next level, Embroidery Legacy is the software for you.